Credit card debt in the United States has reached insane levels. It says here on our financial site that the average debt over time for the average American household, adjusted for inflation, has increased by 79% since 1990. Think about how much growth that is. 30 years, 79%. 35 years. The stats are average per person for credit card debt is almost $7,000 per household. It's almost 11 grand. Total credit card debt by early 2025 is 1.29 trillion. Trillion with a T. Not good. Let's see what the experts have to say about this disaster of a scenario we're in right now with credit cards.
The credit card industry spends more on advertising and marketing in a year than all professional sports put together, and than all in any other product line, than automotive line, put together Ford, Chrysler, Toyota, whatever. There's a lot of television commercials with Chevy trucks running through the mud.
Oh yeah,
Nothing like Visa. Nothing like Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex, because it's so stinking profitable. They just make
really? So can you explain? I wish I knew more about this.
Well, it's simple. They charge 18 to 28% on the, and people stay in debt. Average American right now is $37,000 in credit card debt. So you run that out times 300 million, and you've got some money coming into good old Chase. And what's in your wallet? Their money. It's bad.
Yeah, 18 to 28% APR on a credit card. That's at the point of being loan shark level. So you think about how much debt each of us hold personally. A lot of people got 4 to 6 grand on their credit cards. That got attached to that 18 to 28% monthly interest rate on. The compounding interest is going to go insane in a quick, very short period of time. It's going to be quick. And when you're looking at how society as a whole spends their money, are you living off credit cards to provide the basics? I mean, if you got to do that to swing groceries every month, that's understandable. Not a good situation, but it's understandable. But there's a lot of impulse buying going on out there. That's what really gets you deep in the hole fast. Because if you have no control of impulse buying, you're going to impulse buy today, tomorrow, and you're going to do it all over again next week. Because it's impulse. You have no willpower. Let's take a little example of that right now.
I was hiding over $55,000 worth of credit card debt from my husband over about a year span. And it wasn't until February of this year that I could no longer take it, and I wanted to sit him down and fully confess to him, because I knew that it was so unfair that he was helping me pay for this debt that he didn't even know about it.
Unfair, to say the least. $55,000 in credit card debt that you hid from your spouse because you can't control yourself. There's impulse buying I'm referring to. 55 grand. That's not a small amount. That takes effort to establish that kind of debt. And to keep it from your spouse, now they influence 85% of consumer spending. And when you're in situations like this, that destroys household income. You put a whole household at risk, the family's at risk, financial risk, because you can't control yourself. Well, when it comes to a situation like this, either you come up with a game plan, or no different than being an addict in something else. You're going to keep going down that rabbit hole. You're going to dig deeper and deeper. And then you're going to get to the point where you spend so much money that you don't have. It doesn't really affect you anymore. You spend 1,000 today, do it again in a couple days from now. What's another 1,000? If you owe 50 grand, what's 52,000? It starts to mean nothing, feels nothing. You're already in the hole so deep. And then you get in a situation where, all right, I'm going to come up with a plan. I'm going to start paying down the debt. And when you pay down the debt, sometimes you don't even feel like you have much of a reward for it because you've already spent the money. Let's take a look at this example here.
The most miserable part about paying off debt is you feel like you're paying for nothing. You'll put $1,000 on a credit card, and then you'll be like, oh my gosh, like I may as well have held up 10 $100 bills and just burned it. And that would have given me more satisfaction than throwing it on a credit card.
She said it. That's it. You already had fun. You accrued the debt. You had fun when you did it. But now it's in the past. You spent 10 grand 3 months ago and you had the fun back then. You don't have that positive impact, the feeling of whatever momentary joy that it brought you 3 months ago. Now you're just in the hole. And so when you throw 1,000 in, like she said, all right, so you brought 38,000 down to 29. It's still a gargantuan amount of debt. So psychologically, you're thinking, they didn't really do anything, didn't make any progress. Although you did. And that is the way to do it. You got to start paying it down. And it's one step at a time. It's a marathon, not a sprint when it comes to paying down a large amount of debt. Let's move on to a video that's going to recap this scenario.
Because I have $30,000 in credit card debt. When they call, I tell them I can't pay it back yet. Credit card debt. Tomorrow I may buy myself a dining room set or this Boba Fett. Credit card debt, credit card debt, credit card debt.
There you have it. That's the mentality. That's it right there. $3,000 in debt. You don't care anymore. It's so big you don't care. So what do? You're going to go out tomorrow. You got to buy something else. And you're going to have that ever-growing debt. Because you're going to reach a point where how are you ever going to get to manage that thing? How are you going to get around it and solve the problem when you have so much debt? Now, the only way to do it is, like I said, one step at a time. If you can throw $1,000 in this month, you're at 30. Now you're down to 29. If you can manage your interest payments, which if you come up with the game plan, you can. Because that's what you got to do. You can't just throw $1,000 or $500 at it and not see where your money's going. Because you got to take into consideration if your credit card's debt, depending on the card you have, you could have 18%, you could have 22% interest rate. You got to figure that in because you're making interest payments monthly. That's going to affect the amount of money you actually put towards the principal. Here's an example of someone that's trying to come up with a game plan to knock it out and see what they're paying on interest payments.
I'm in the process of paying down $55,000 worth of credit card debt, so let's see how much interest I was charged in the month of June. First step is my Capital One card, which is a lot less than last month. It's only $91.16, and that is because $3,000 of it is officially at 0% on another card, so I will take $91. This is from my Bank of America card that we just paid off a couple days ago, and I was charged $82.81. For our Amazon Prime Pizza, we were charged $166.16. And our Southwest card, we were charged $185.86. And lastly, on our Spirit Airlines card, we were charged $118.25. So that means total for the month of June, we were charged $644.24. And in my last video in May.
Okay. So in her situation, she spent $644 and change on interest payments. And if you continue her video there, she's referring to she made progress because the previous month she spent more on interest. So she's putting a dent. She's putting a dent in it. You see how crazy it is? $644 in interest payments alone per month. So she took $644 and lit it up because it didn't go to her principal. She didn't make any progress. That's wasted money. That's money in the big boys' pockets. Yeah, the credit card companies. It did nothing to get her closer to paying down the principal. The way to pay down the principal, you're going to have to pay the interest, and then you're going to have to pay above and beyond it to start chipping away at that mountain of debt. You're in this situation, and you had to have debt. Let's say you're not impulse buyer. You didn't do some crazy shopping spree for a few months and racked up this debt. If you're literally using it every month just to get by, it's understandable. Most of us has been there. We've been there. I've been there. I remember a long time ago, I was in that situation, and to make ends meet for the month, I used a credit card. So what did I do is I went out and got a 0% APR. You can find credit cards like that if you have decent credit score. I've always had high credit, usually 800 plus, sometimes high 700s, and you get credit card offers thrown at you all the time. So if you got debt, that's the way to go. If your current debt is on interest-bearing accounts, then if you can get a 0% APR right now, you can transfer all that debt, or as much as you can to hit the limit, transfer it over, and then you get a free loan. That's the way to do it if you can. It's not too hard to do for most of the time, unless you got bad credit. In that scenario, every time you're making a payment, you're paying on the credit card principal, the balance itself. So you throw $1,000 down on that $30,000 credit card, that's 0 APR, you're down to 29 because all your money went to the balance. That's true progress you're making. Not everyone can be in that situation, but if you can, you got to do it. You're saving a ton of money, and you're going to get out of debt a hell of a lot faster.
This might just be a privileged question, but how are you 25 years old racking up $40,000 in credit card debt? Do you not see how absolutely diabolical that is? It really is not that hard to just simply not spend the money that you don't have. Obviously, if you're using it for things that are important like gas and groceries and rent, that's a completely different story, but you're literally just racking up and spending this money on whatever you want, and now you're in thousands and thousands and thousands of debt that you're going to be in for the rest of your life. And trust me, I know what it's like to struggle. It's not like I've never struggled financially before, but once you're about to hit your limit on the credit card, that's usually when you say, okay, I need to chill out and stop spending my money on whatever the fuck I want and only spend it on things that I need. That's just common sense, I fear. And hot take, but I literally don't feel bad for these people at all.
Common sense. It should be. It should be. But if it's common sense for everybody, we wouldn't be in this mess. 17% of Americans can't meet their bills every month. And our credit card debt's an all-time high. We are at a 29% credit card utilization rate, according to the Fed, which means that of all the available credit you have as a whole for American society, we use 29% of our available credit to us. We're just under that point. If you're 30% below your credit card utilization rate, you're okay, you won't get a ding. But you go over 30% on the amount of credit you have available to you, and you're holding something larger, let's say 40%, of credit card debt to your maxed out credit limit, then you get a ding. It'll start hurting your credit score. So you got to keep that in mind. This young woman said it, common sense. It tends to be our average way of thinking is, everything's okay. I'm not really going to think about this credit card debt that I'm accruing all the time. It's getting bigger and bigger because you didn't reach a limit. So it feels like free endless cash until your credit card gets maxed out or your 3 credit cards get maxed out. When you hit that limit, then it's the light bulb moment. Oh, maybe I should do something about this. You don't want to get to that point. If you get to that point, then you have no more available credit. And how are you going to get by the next month if you actually need to use that credit card to pay some bills and not impulse buy? So, a lot to think about here. This is a mess, but we can get out of it. The economy's getting a little better. Inflation's going on a little bit, but we're still in the hole. It's going to take time for things to turn around in this country. So I'll see you in the next one.